Well, hello, and welcome back to Finance Fridays. We have another article to unpack and some teasers about the things we'll be doing next week and the topics we'll be discussing. But to start it off, I'm just going to share my screen and roll over there to the headline we want to talk about, which is mortgage rates sink again and home buyers jump back in. So it says the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage with conforming loan balances decreased from 6.35 to 6.35 from 6.42. And so as we've seen this happening over the past week or so, I think it's a couple weeks, what do you guys see in activity in your markets?
Connor?
Cheryl? Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit slower than you guys are, but February was an exceptional month for me. March was pretty decent. This month is going okay. I've got a number of pre-approvals. I've probably got one coming into contract, but I think activity is definitely picking up. But if you compare this year, my activity versus last year, way busier this year. And I think a lot, which kind of leads in. Yeah.
It was 55 basis points higher last year in interest rate, right?
Yeah, way higher. Yep. Oh, yeah, it's right in front of us. I didn't see it there. Wow, man, you're quick at that math.
For the entire team today. No, I'm the same thing. It's right in front of me, and I keep looking.
Yeah, I didn't see that. That's funny.
Hey, Shay, what about you? What about Broward County? How's it going over there?
It's picking up for sure. I mean, personally, myself, I think it also depends on, what you're doing in your business to get out there to get business. I work a lot the direct to consumer space. So going into the Army National Guard opens a plethora of leads. Going into the Fraternal Order Police, again, is just putting my name out there. So that's what I'm seeing actually converting right now. Realtors, yes, I am getting leads. And, Connor works the realtor angle real hard. So he's got way more agents probably than I do that refer him business. So I think it just depends on what you're doing as to where it's coming from. But currently, it's picking up. I mean, we're drowning.
So, well, it goes in waves too. I could be really busy one month. You don't have anything going on, then it switches. But all in all, I think without a doubt, activity is picking up. What about you, Isabel? What are you seeing?
Oh, we're seeing a big pickup. I think when we were running numbers, Dee, what was the percentage that we saw yesterday?
I've had a 69% increase in application over the last 30 days.
Wow.
And the office as a whole has taken in 80 new apps in the last 30 days.
Wow.
And they're coming from all over, which I think is pretty cool.
Like you were saying, different lead sources as well, like working different angles. And I think if you're a realtor watching this, I think that's the importance of having pillars of business. So, a lot of loan officers put their eggs all in. I'm just going to go after a realtor partner, which is important. And we love those relationships because we like to make the relationships with the professional and team up and do all kinds of different marketing strategies. But there are other opportunities such as financial planners, CPAs, networking groups, and then of course online. But I think if I'm a buyer right now and I see this headline and I'm listening to what we're saying, kind of placates to what we've been saying, right? When the rates start dropping, the activity is going to pick up. As the activity picks up, the inventory is going to shrink. As the inventory shrinks, we're going to go back to I don't believe 2020, but I think we'll start to see. Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot
Connor's
of this.
Connor's got his dance moves going on.
Doing the wave. The next thing
I can start dancing as well.
I love it. And Connor we have a chart. I think we're going to start with like price cuts and what's happening with price cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that up there so you can talk through it.
Whoa, that's big. This is a little bit hard to read at first, but it kind of bothers me that I can't point to it. It would make it a lot easier, but at least it's color coded. So anyway, this graph shows the percent of listings that are seeing a price cut. And it shows at the top there, 16.2% of listings saw a price cut in March. That is versus last year down 1.2 percentage points. So it's not a big decline. But what this graph shows, let's look at the green line. That is in 2021, you can see it was pretty low. It was below 8% had price cuts. So it kind of went up through the end of the year, June, July, then tapered off toward December. What's interesting, you look at 2022, the yellow line or orange, whatever color that is, it was about the same level, 6 to even, below 6, but then it just skyrocketed because the market slowed considerably. And, when that happens, demand drops off a cliff. You got all these homes up for sale. What do people do? They have to cut prices to help, move the inventory. You can see where we are now, the red line, March 2026. And then the line above that is 2025. So the number of homes that are having to cut their price on the listing to sell it has dropped since last year. So the market's getting a little bit better, but you can see it's actually still pretty high compared to other years. So the market's improving a little bit incrementally. It's not a drastic improvement by any means, but it is getting better, and that's kind of what this shows.
Yeah.
And
So I'm gonna
let me ask
go
a
ahead.
question, but is
Yeah.
this based on nationwide? Is this Florida?
No, this is nationwide. Yep.
Okay. Because
Yeah, and that's the question I get a lot. Well, yeah, but we're in Florida. Okay, well, we've got that data too.
well, and that's what I was going to say is there's a lot of
Yeah.
agents that are like, well, I'm not feeling it,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, what do you tell them?
Yeah, and I kind of wish we had brought the other chart up, but this next one's pretty telling. But the graph that we've talked about before basically shows the map of all of Florida, and it shows the price declines or price appreciation in all the different locations or counties, and it varies dramatically. I mean, Cape Coral was hit the hardest. Fort Lauderdale, or a little bit north of that, is actually up maybe 1%. Jacksonville was flat. Sarasota was down like 9%. So it varies all over the place. So, but this is national. But the next one that we have is just on Florida real estate.
And I think you said something, Shay, that just kind of made me go, yeah, people are saying, I hear that so often, like people saying I'm slow but somebody in every market is having their best year ever and killing it. There is business out there. There are opportunities for buyers out there. It's the folks that listen to all the noise that miss those opportunities. So whether you're a seller, you're a buyer, or you're a realtor that is in the market, there are opportunities abound. You just have to be willing to open your eyes and stop listening to the noise and look for them. So I think there's a lot of emotion that goes around when a person's not busy and as a realtor or a mortgage person. But when you look at the data supports that we are incrementally improving, although it's slight, we're still seeing it. And this next chart leading into that kind of shows exactly what we're talking about. So let me add that for us.
Yeah. This to me was a little. Some of it was a little bit surprising, and other parts of it were actually shocking. So, because me personally, and with our branch, we look at our production and our activity and see that applications and contracts closed, deals done have definitely increased, especially over last year. So we can look at that and say, yeah, we're definitely getting busier. But what is the rest of the state feeling? How are they doing? Looking at this data, you can see the first line there that's highlighted in red, new pending sales. This is year over year. So from Q1, first quarter of last year, 2025, to first quarter of this year, 2026, new pending sales have increased 7.1%. That's pretty solid. New listings have dropped by 4%. So maybe people can't get the price of their house. Maybe they think it's a bad market. They can't sell it quickly enough. They just pull it, wait for a better price. Pending inventory has gone up 3.8%. Inventory active listings have dropped 10%. That's pretty significant. But I think the most shocking number here is month supply of inventory down 12.7%. So it went from 5.5 months last year to currently 4.8. So a normal market is between 4 and 6 months. So we're right in the middle of the normal market. And what does that mean? That basically means that demand is outpacing supply right now. And that's why the number of months inventory is actually dropping, which is shocking.
Can I challenge that a little bit and ask your opinion?
Yep.
So is the number of months of inventory dropping solely based off of the buyer activity, or is it also off with sellers not coming to market because they feel like their home is worth more than what they could get today? These are based on actual transactions. So it's, it could, I don't know the reason why they're not coming to market. So yeah, it could be the fact that they think they can wait and get a better price. They don't want to mark down their house, which they think they may have to. They feel that, they just can't sell it. So they're going to hold on to it. They have a vacation home.
They really can't sell that. So who knows? But the thing I like about this number is this is real data. This is not something that's kind of estimated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are actual, more buyers coming to the market than there is inventory.
So if I'm a seller and I see these charts and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of buyers picking up, I'm not just going to sell my house because we need more inventory,
No, definitely
right?
not. Definitely
So,
not.
but that's sometimes what they're thinking is they are having significant price drops. I mean, I think one of the deals I have now, they did an appraisal. The appraiser's like, I don't have any comps. And she pulls out a comp from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So, but we're seeing that some neighborhoods in certain area there's just no comps for almost a year and a half. So
Yeah.
what does that do to prices? They drop, right? But why are sellers not understanding that if there's no sales, there's no additional value in it? Like
You have to
they
think
start to come
too.
down.
Some sellers are sitting on just an immense amount of equity, and they're comfortable with where they're at life wise, and so leaving a great equity position to get into a home with what they consider to be a higher rate maybe than what they already have, it takes a life change or something significant happening in their life to want to make that move. I think that's a little bit of why we're locked up. I think the lower we see rates go, the more sense that makes. But that's a great question in my head, is like, why do we have less inventory now than a year ago? What's playing to that?
I feel that a lot of people that are, do have the equity, they also have refinanced when the market dropped into the 2s and 3s. So they are like, I do not want to get rid of this, because if they're comfortable with the payment at 2 to 3%, maybe even 4%, imagine going up to 5-6% when they sell their house and go get another one. They're like, why would I leave and go pay more? So do you think that if they knew what their payment was going to be, that maybe they would actually get off the fence and possibly sell? And is that something that realtors should be strategizing with them and discussing with them? How can they make this work?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to say. I mean, there's so many variables that come into play with this. It's hard to know exactly what the reasoning is, because it's a little bit of everything. It's the fear of or fear of thinking you're not going to get the price that you want because people are having to reduce prices, so they're not going to sell. They have a lower rate right now, so they're kind of locked into that. They don't feel that they can get rid of that rate for a higher rate. There's just a lot of issues going on, and affordability on the buyer side. That's kind of holding people back. So I think it's a big part of it is, and we've talked about this before, it's educating the public about what options they have, like temporary rate buy downs to lower that payment, to make it more affordable, to get those seller credits that they can use against closing costs, or to buy down a rate to get a lower interest rate. So, but yeah, the main point of this is that things are not anywhere near as dire as people make it out to be. I mean, houses are moving, deals are getting done, but it's such a fragmented market that, what's happening is you have some people that are in a market that is not performing well. And there's a lot of inventory in that specific market, and it was way overpriced, and they're having to mark it down $100,000. And based on their experience, they're going, oh, the market's crashing. I mean, we're having to mark everything down, but that's in that specific market. You can't look at that market and extrapolate it throughout the whole state. So this data is saying, well, yeah, we're in a fragmented market, and it depends on what area you're looking at. But overall, the state of Florida is actually doing really well. And, in the grand scheme of things, we don't have enough inventory. And what is it going to take to unlock that? I think it's going to take, a little bit lower rates, and we're kind of headed that way. And that's one of the reasons why I think we're starting to see that demand increase as rates drop. So it's only a matter of time when rates get maybe below 6%. That we're going to start having more inventory come online. But I think that's going to be good for our market. I think we need more inventory.
Well, that's also going to push us into a seller's market.
Yeah.
So then home buyers they're going to be having way more competition.
Yeah.
So for those sitting on the fence, like you said, there's significant amount of credits being given. Take that credit, apply it towards a 2-1 buy down. Now you can get the feel of that lower interest rate for the first 2 years while everything kind of settles itself.
I think too, when you're talking about first time home buyers and people trying to enter the home buying market, there's a lot of misinformation flying around on social media about, and kind of teasing what we're going to be talking about next week, but what your credit score needs to be, what programs are available, how to
Yeah.
get creative with the financing when it comes to interest rates. And so over the next couple of weeks, that's kind of our goal, is to unpack some of that and give people some information. So look for us next week when we start to talk about did you know? Because there's a lot of did you knows that I think you see people thinking, oh, I have to put 20% down. No, you don't. I have to have perfect credit. No, you don't. And I think some of that is what's keeping people sitting on the sidelines, because we're seeing insurance come down in Florida. I don't know if you guys are noticing that.
Yeah, it's
We've
getting a little
got
bit better.
it's getting a little bit better. Carriers are coming into the market. We're seeing a
Ton of
great
carriers.
improvement there. Rates have come down, like we just read, 55 basis points since last year average. Prices have, stabilized and come down a bit. So you kind of have now where people that might not have bought last year or the year before, they are not qualified. They might be able to, but they're still sitting on the fence, and you have to ask why. Is it the fear of being told no? Is it the fear that they don't have the high enough credit score? All of those things factor in. So we want to spend a few weeks talking about those things and like what it takes to get into a home, what it really takes, not what your friend said or your neighbor said or the experience that somebody down the street had, but what really is, because there's so much misinformation going around.
Yep, 100%.
Isabel, what do you have to add to this conversation? Do you think, do you see activity picking up for yourself? I know you have a couple new deals you're working on, and how's that going?
Yeah, I've had a lot of like inquiries, but like what you guys were touching on, I think a lot of people are just like a little bit nervous when it comes to the affordability of things.
Yeah.
But that's where we come in and we try to come up with a plan, as far as like you guys were saying with the seller concessions. Right now it's a really good opportunity for them to negotiate and pretty much come to the table with not much out of pocket. So
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to touch on something that you guys were talking about. Um, in the I guess you would say in the last 5 or 6 years when rates were like a little bit lower, I feel like we're in that time frame where when you get into a home after like 5 or 6 years, would you guys say that's when somebody's ready to like maybe move out of their house? So I think like we're coming up on that. So I think the people that have just been kind of like sitting back and like they don't want to leave that house because of the rate. They had such a good rate. I think that
Mhm.
at this point now we're reaching that window where they're getting itchy to get into a new place. So I think we're going to get some sellers back into the market as
Yeah,
well.
I think it's I don't know the number, but I think it's what people typically move every
I
7
think it's
years on
7
average.
Yeah.
years. I'm
Is
actually
that what you're
Googling
doing?
it.
See, but
On
I think we're
average,
approaching that time.
I just Googled it because I had to.
Yeah.
Americans move every 5 to 7 years is
Yeah.
what
Okay.
statistics reflect.
but I'm
Yeah.
seeing it different. So because I have a lot of first responders and veterans, they are trying to also take advantage of using their property as an investment. So they are vacating their current home to keep that 2% rate,
Yeah.
so that they can profit a ton off of rent, because rent has gone up. So if I have one person, their payment is still $1,200. I was like, huh, what I wouldn't give to go back to that day.
Yeah.
But they can rent out their property for $3,000, if not more.
We kind of
to
answer
get
the question why we're
value.
not seeing more inventory. That could be happening right there. Instead of selling it, they
I
just
think they're getting a
hanging
little
on
more
to it.
savvy in the investment ideas of, hey, I can actually start building a real estate portfolio.
Yep.
And, so that's what I know that we teach, our veterans, and the first responders are big into real estate investing. So I'm seeing that, but, I know we're not seeing all of those big companies come back in because we had a session about that, but I'm not seeing much of my clients saying, hey, I want to turn around and sell. They're like, I want to rent this out and I want to go buy a new
Mhm.
one
Yeah.
at 3% down. They're a veteran. I want to use this down payment assistance again because they're exempt from it, or the seller credit. They, on top of that, we just had a customer. He like Isabel said, he paid $1,100 at closing. Not even at closing. He put his
Mhm.
$3,000 earnest money deposit in. He paid his inspection, his appraisal. The seller credited a whole bunch of money back. He got 2 years of home warranty. It covered his appraisal reimbursement. It covered everything else. And he literally bought a house for $1,100.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. There are deals to be had without a doubt.
Yep. Well, I think this was a great conversation. And I think we have a lot in store for next week with our Did You Knows. And then we're going to be unpacking creative ways to get into homes, things that people might not understand fully about, like what your credit score needs to be, what your down payment needs to be. So stay tuned. Look for us next week, and we'll be bringing you some really good ideas. Until then,
and who your lender needs to be.
Thanks, guys.
And who your lender needs to be. Exactly.
There you go.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.